Hey guys, welcome back to Maths Recovery with Rebecca. So today we are going to continue with factorization. So the last video we looked at where a was 1. So we're looking at the trinomials again. This video we're going to be looking at where a is not equal to 1. So let's say you try your best, you're trying to get that, the common factor, and it's not common factoring and it's not becoming 1. What do you do then? Okay, so we do know that the first thing we need to try and find is a common factor, and if that common factor is not working, then we have to use, like again with the last one, we're using the Omar method, but now it's a little bit different. So have we checked our order? Our order is correct, yes. Now we figured out that a is not equal to 1. So remember, this first term right here is a, and I can see that it is now a 6. So what we do is we multiply a and c. So remember, this is in the form ax squared plus minus bx plus minus c. So we're going to multiply our a and our c, and we are going to get, well, 6 times minus 10 is minus 60. So it's order, multiplication, addition. So what we do now is we've got to ask ourselves, what two numbers must we add together that's going to multiply to get this minus 60, but also add to get, or subtract to get the minus 11. So let's take a look. So minus 60 is also minus 15 times 4. And if I add these two together, minus 15 plus 4, I'm going to get minus 11. So there I found my two multiplications. I get that minus 60. And I've also taken the two numbers with their signs. I can have opposite signs here because I'm trying to look for a minus to get that minus 11. So let's look what happened here. So we said that minus 15 and 4 make minus 11. So what we're going to do is we are going to write the sum. We're going to use these two numbers, this minus 15 and this 4, and we're going to rewrite a sum for minus 11. So that sum is going to be minus 15x plus 4x. So that's the same numbers that we got through our addition, and we're just going to replace that minus 11 with minus 15 plus 4, which adds up to minus 11. Then we're going to do something called grouping. So you're going to look for common factors in the first two and the last two terms. So this is it over here. So if I look for common factors, I'm getting a 3x, and I'm also going to leave me with, remember the common factor divides into each of the terms. I'm going to get a 2x minus 5. And in the last two terms, you've got to just remember to keep this middle sign. You see those brackets have not consumed this middle sign. We've got to keep it the same and then look at our common factor. So obviously if this middle sign was a negative, we're going to look at one of those. It's going to do a sign change within these two last terms. Another thing you've got to remember is do not go and place brackets around here when you are looking for common factors. Rather, draw a line underneath your first two terms and a line underneath your last two terms. And then when you take out that common factor, that is when you place the brackets. Okay, so what you'll see is once you've taken out your common factor, you've got these two brackets that look exactly the same. If they don't look exactly the same, you've made a mistake. Go back and look at your two numbers that added to get your A and C. Okay, so then what we do is we take that 2x minus 5, it is the common factor between the two terms, and then what's left over? Well, if I take 2x minus 5 and I divide it into this first term, I'm going to get 3x, and if I divide it into the second term, I'm going to get plus 2. So that is how I go and factorize a trinomial when a is not 1. Let's look at another example. Actually, let's go look at a common question. So now, what I've picked up is that the common question is, what if I go and write, instead of minus 15x plus 4x, I write plus 4x minus 15x. That does not make a difference. So what happens is you still go and look at the first two terms and you take out your common factor, and the next two terms and you take out your common factor, and what you're seeing is that middle term now is now a negative. There it is right there. Well, in this case, it will be a negative because now your minus 15 is at the back. So you might find it more easier if you do have a negative one and a positive one, put the negative one first. So it eliminates you having to do this whole sign change situation. Because you see, in the last two terms there we had to take out a minus 5, which had us now making this a 3x and then a plus 10. Because this minus 5 divided in there, which made it a plus 2. But if you look at the answer, it's exactly the same. Okay. So now let's look at this. So we've tried to take out a common factor. It's not working. I've picked up that it's in the right order, so I don't need to do that. So let's do the AC method. So if I take 2 and 3 and I multiply it, I'm going to get 6. There it is right there. Now, what two numbers multiply to get 6, but they also add to get 7? Well, 6 and 1. So we're just going to replace 7x with 6x plus 1x. And then we see we group the first two and we get this, group the last two. Remember, if you're grouping and you realize that there is no common factor, there is always a common factor of 1. So I just popped that 1 in there. You don't have to write the 1. I popped it in there so that you can see that there is something there. So then we group the first two and we group the last two. And you notice our brackets are the same. Take that out as a common factor and there it is. So the order of the brackets also don't make a difference, as long as whatever sign belongs to the bracket. You see, this is a plus 1, so this is a plus 1. That's a plus 3, so it's a plus 3. Stays with the brackets. So I could have written this thing as x plus 3, 2x plus 1. It's multiplication. It's the same thing. Okay. Let's now look at a higher level question. Now on the side here, I've written my common factor and then my OMAR, because I already know this is a trinomial. I can see there's the first term squared, second term, and the third term. It's a trinomial. So let's look. So the first thing I need to look for is a trinomial. I mean a common factor. And I'm seeing straight away that I can take out a common factor of 2 with the 12, the 22, and the 6. Now I can't take out the common factor of the x minus 2 because this back term, this coefficient right here, doesn't have the x minus 2. So that guy's actually staying there. So if you look at what's happening with my brackets, the 2 just popped on the outside there, and we just divided the 12 by 2, which gave me 6. The 22 by 2, which gave me 11, and the 6 by 2, which gave me 3. Okay. Now, to make my life easier, I'm going to say let x minus 2 is equal to k. So if you're going to use this method, you actually need to physically write down let x minus 2 equal to k. So whoever's marking your work knows what you are doing. You're not just pulling k out of nowhere. You are saying x minus 2 is equal to k. Let me change that. And then you got something that looks like this. So much more simpler. Now, we already know that x minus 2 is k. Simplifies it down so much. Trinomial. Great. A times c is 6 times 3, 18. Now, what two numbers multiply to 18? Now, we also got to remember that two negative numbers also multiply to get a positive number. Because that's what we're looking at here. If I have a 9 and a 2, they both need to be negative so that I can add them together to make this negative 11. And that works out perfectly. So let me just replace it. There I've got that minus 9k and minus 2k, which replace that minus 11k. Then I'm going to group the first two, group the last two, and I'm getting this 3k with a 2k minus 3. So remember, just divides in. Minus. Now, remember, I'm taking out a minus 1. So what happens here? The sign changes. So then I'm going to group like this. I'm seeing that bracket's exactly the same. Remember, this 3k gets this minus 1 that's over here, that's invisible over 1. And then we have to always return that x minus 2. So we originally said that k is equal to x minus 2. They're not asking you to work out k. They're asking you to work out x minus 2. So you've got to return that x minus 2. And then you just simplify within the brackets. 2x, remember that's going to be a minus 4. Minus 4 minus 3 is minus 7. And the same thing here. So you're going to have a 3x minus 6 minus 1 is minus 7. So I'm just distributing out this 3 and this 2. And I'm getting something that looks nice like that. And that will be your end answer. I know it looks rough, but in the next video, I'm going to show you how to factorize using the white or the silver calculator just to make your life easier. But for now, if you don't have one of those, This is the method you're going to have to follow, and it is foolproof. Okay, so let's try a few for yourself. So what I want you to do is just pause it, try them out yourself. Remember, check for common factors. Remember, a common factor doesn't always have to be a number. It could also be a letter. So just make note of that, especially when you do this last one. And then this middle one, check for order. Always check for order. Remember, it needs to be highest order. And then that one's just straightforward. Okay, so there's my answers. Hopefully you got them correct. If you didn't, please watch the video again. And then, yeah, please subscribe. The support is very much loved. Thank you so much for watching my video.